Welcome back to SoulShift, where we explore the intersection of mindset, emotional wellness, and personal transformation. I'm Mindy Gorman-Plutzer, and today I have the absolute honor of being with my co-hosts, Ali Anderson and Christine Morgenstern Shin, as we speak with someone whose story embodies the very essence of what we talk about here. The profound shifts that happen when we choose to see our challenges as catalysts for growth. Today's guest is Tarik Williams, a burnout breakthrough and lifestyle coach who helps working professionals break free from feeling undervalued and underpaid while overcoming burnout. But Tarik's story goes so much deeper than his professional credentials. At 16, he lost his sight. And rather than letting that define his limitations, he transformed that experience into his superpower, becoming a testament to resilience, vision, and the incredible capacity we all have to rewrite our stories. Welcome to SoulShift, where modern science, ancient wisdom, and real life align.
SoulShift offers a peaceful pause in your week, a gentle reminder that meaningful change doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Together, we'll discover practical tools, we'll share authentic conversations, and honor the beautiful complexity of being human.
This is your invitation to breathe, to reflect, and to trust the process.
Thank you for being here. Let's shift
Gently.
Together. Tarik, welcome to SoulShift. We are so grateful you're here.
Oh, what an intro. Thank you so much. So honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, very well. So let's start with your experience, Tarik. You became blind at 16, an age when most of us are figuring out who we are and what we want from life. Can you take us back to that moment and how it shaped the trajectory of your life?
You know, I'll definitely take us back there. But before we go back, I want to say this. I think that just to kind of talk about your question a little bit, every day we're learning more about ourselves, right? I think 16 is where there's definitely some true forming happening of who we are. But every day we're evolving as people, learning more about ourselves. And so whatever that looks like for us, I don't think that necessarily stops or anything like that. I think it's definitely an internal, and we're lifelong learners in this thing that we call life, but we're also lifelong learners and learning about ourselves.
That is powerful. Yeah.
Taking us back, let's go in a time machine here. So 16-year-old Tarik was definitely in a space of being excited to learn how to drive, being excited to kind of hang out and with all my other friends in high school, right? And think about all those different things in life. But when my eyesight started deteriorating, we didn't know why it happened. And originally we thought it was because I was playing basketball and got elbowed in my eye. But 6 months after that, what happened was my left eye started going bad. And then we realized there's something else going on here. And we later found out that I have this genetic disorder called Leber's hereditary optical neuropathy, LHON. And I would tell you that in that point of time in my life, I think I felt more lost than ever because something I thought I was going to have in my life was now gone. And I was trying to really understand more about who I was, but then I had kind of a new identity. So it was definitely an interesting space to be in.
I can really imagine. But you do say, and you have shared, that becoming blind was not the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Oh, absolutely not. But I do some work sometimes with other blind individuals. And I got asked randomly, when I think about the word blind or blindness, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Or how would you define what does it mean to be blind? And I said, opportunity. I would say being blind gave me an opportunity to learn more about who I was as a person. Being blind gave me the opportunity to learn a different skill set I never would have learned. But more importantly, it gave me the opportunity just to be more of who I was, even though in the moment I was lost. So you wake up and you're 16, and you think your life is going to look a certain way, but we all have those different obstacles that come out of nowhere. We don't know what they're going to look like for us moving forward. I mean, being blind is mine. I mean, Mindy, I'm sure that you have an obstacle that has happened to you that you thought was going to really throw your life for a loop for the rest of it, right?
No question. We think, as you shared, that our life is going to follow a certain trajectory, and this perfectly planned lives are changed in an instant.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like my friends still being there for me, and it was great. Don't get me wrong. And I was definitely at a space where like, okay, like I could be the cool blind kid. That's fine. You know what I mean? I guess I became satisfied with that, but not necessarily like proud of that, but I was satisfied with it, right? But once I learned more about me, took the steps and recognized it as an opportunity, and got some help from some coaches, some educators in the blindness field, and learned more about who I was as a person, the big thing that happened was that there was a shift. I was now proud of the person who I was, but no longer satisfied, because I knew that I had so many more great things I could accomplish now that this wasn't going to take over my life.
Yeah, so that's one of our core themes here on SoulShift. The idea that our hardships don't define us, but they shape us. And I see how that is playing out in your journey.
100%. I mean, once again, blindness is mine. We all have our things, and it's definitely shaped me. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I ignore being blind and it's not a big deal. Just being honest, blindness has shaped me in a sense just as much as, my culture, my background. We all have the different things that are a part of our lives, and it helps define the beauty of each individual person.
I love that. And this is Chris here. So I see you've been known as the burnout breakthrough consultant. And I think that's so needed right now. I mean, many of the women and men I speak with and work with, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they give so much, but they feel like they're not getting back. And so I was curious of why you chose to focus on burnout specifically.
I define burnout a little bit differently than most people. When I think about burnout, so we think about the waking up tired and going to sleep tired and just never really getting to a place in our lives where we're actually happy with the day. And we try to go and find those escapes in life. If it's a vacation for a week and then we come back, but then it's the same old, right? But I would also tell you that burnout is the best thing that could ever happen to you. I know that sounds insane. Follow along for the journey.
Yeah. I was going to say, tell us more.
Yeah. Because let's call burnout what it actually is. I mean, what burnout truly is, it's yourself telling yourself that you deserve more. That whatever it is you're going through right now, that's not it. And your body's showing you because you're waking up tired and you're exhausted and you feel undervalued, and it starts showing up in different physical traits in your life. And then all of a sudden, all those things come together. But hey, let's realize what it is. Whatever you're going through right now, that's not it. So let's find a way to take action into doing something else instead of sitting in this burnout. But when your life is telling you, when your body's telling you, when your mental health is telling you that there's more out there for you, let's do something to figure out how to work through it.
And I love that. I love that you talked about the deservability score or the deservability level and having your clients be aware of that. That sounds like a really great starting point. And you work into this about following their passion.
Yeah.
And so that's the opposite end of burnout, right? And I think for a lot of folks, like when you talk to them, it could be inspiring, it could be overwhelming. And so from your perspective, how do you distinguish genuine passion from what we get caught up in thinking we should be passionate about? Does that make sense?
It does. I want to take you to a little bit of a story, though. So when I was younger, basketball was my passion. Basketball was my thing. And I still love sports now. I was going to be the next Michael Jordan. That was what I was going to do before I was 16 and before I lost my eyesight. That's what I was going to do. And I remember my brother and I, let's like practicing together on the weekends. My brother is quite a few years older, about 9 years older than me. We'd play basketball together and just practice on my shot and practicing all these different things. And when I think back on that time, when basketball was the goal, when basketball was the dream, what it makes me think about is that I didn't become a good shooter on the basketball court just by magic, right? It took work. So like we talked about before, we used the word deserve. So like, does anybody deserve to be good at something? Sure. And we all deserve great things in life. Absolutely. But the thing about it is, we don't get what we deserve. We get what we earn. And so what it means to take action in daily life and what it means to get what we deserve and all those great things, you have to put in the work and take in the action to figure out what it means to make yourself feel better. And that's why I have such a passion for working with people who are going through burnout and what it means to level up and get that control back of their lives and really reclaiming their person. Now, I think the neat thing about passion is that we often think about passion as, it would be so amazing to work in this space. I'm so passionate towards this specific thing. People always talk about finding their passion, but I think that's cool. Don't get me wrong. I think finding your passion is cool. I think it's great. However, finding your passion is just like maybe a quarter of it. The other 75% is what it means to actually put passion into your work, putting passion into it, like being the lifeblood, like the energy, right? Because I could say that I'm passionate about people who have burnout, want to create a great life and create programs for them. But if I'm not putting any passion into it as well, then we're not really having a conversation at this point about what passion really is.
I love that. Thank you for expounding on that because, a lot of people get caught up in just finding the one thing. And I think throughout life, like you're sharing, you can be passionate about X amount of things. And then it sounds like the key you're saying here is to be passionate while you're doing it day to day and developing your skill set. That's a big difference than, because usually the day to day is not the exciting part. It sounds like you're coaching your clients to be able to harness that and really just live from the heart, right?
It's embodying the action rather than just doing something, being as opposed to doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to some clients the other day and they were having a hard time thinking about what they want. And so I said to them, okay, well, let's couple of things. We could do this a few different ways. We could think about what you don't want and fill in the gaps from there, which is a tool that I will definitely use sometimes. But in this specific situation, I didn't. I said to them, okay, and they were a group of educators. And I said to them, all right, we don't know what we want to do. Okay, excellent. Let's take a step back here and let me create a metaphor for you all. Let's go on vacation. Where do you want to go? And they said Hawaii. I said, okay, great. What do we like about Hawaii? The beach. Some said the people. Ironically, the people who said they liked the people in Hawaii, they were from Hawaii. But we talked about all these different things that we like about Hawaii. I said, okay, all those things are great for the vacation. That's excellent. But when we're talking to our clients and what this means for them, we can want to get to Hawaii and that's great. And we're all excited about the destination. But there's some different things in the day-to-day that needs to happen here. We got to book the trip. We got to book the transportation. We got to do a lot of different logistical things that might not seem as fun. But when it comes to what passion is and what it isn't, you know what I mean? The more effort and passion we're putting into our work, the greater the outcomes are even going to be in the end.
Such a powerful message. Tarik, this is Allie, and I have been following you, and I'm so inspired by you, and I love listening to your messaging across the board. You're such an inspiration and really fun to listen to on different podcasts. One of your key messages I noticed is recognizing your own power, and you speak into never letting anyone else take away your worth. And for our listeners, especially our women listeners, I think there's often a disconnect between intellectually knowing this and really fully embodying it. And so I wanted to ask you, what does recognizing your power actually look like in daily life?
Yeah, such a great question. And I want to go back to another piece that you mentioned. If I could tell another story here. So when I first became blind, I remember what it meant to learn some other skills as a blind person, right? And I was practicing and learning how to cross the street as a blind person and travel independently and all those things. And one time I was crossing the street And I was in the crosswalk and all that good stuff. Everything was a great crossing. But somebody from a distance, I guess, saw me. I don't know what it was. They saw my cane and they like ran out of wherever they were and pulled me across the street and then just went away. And in that moment, I had to take a step back and think, like, I don't want to live a life where people feel like they have to pull me across the street. I don't want to live a life where I feel like I have no agency over who I am in my body, right? And I feel like so often that happens to so many people, and especially women that happens to, right? And so it's a really interesting thing that you bring up, because more than anything, when I think of recognizing your power, it's recognizing who you are as an individual. And we talked about this in the very beginning. What it means to recognize who you are is to recognize that you have value. But a lot of times we miss that because of imposter syndrome, right? We think that what's for us isn't for us, but that couldn't be further from the truth. What's for us is for us, and we can accomplish anything. But I think that what it means to recognize your power is, one, learn more about you, but two, recognize, hey, you're not perfect. You got to learn just like anybody else. That's cool, but understand that you have a list of gifts and skills that not everybody has. Own those and respect those, and also respect the fact that you're not perfect and that you're going to fail and you're going to struggle. But that's okay, because what those things really are things that you're going to learn from this make you better every single day. So I think often what it means recognizing your power is truthfully think about the moments where people try to take it away, and we stand firm and we don't let that happen anymore. But then two, what it means when obstacles and things come across, and how we're able to just reclaim who we are and actually just continue moving forward every day.
Wow, that's really powerful. I might need to have that on repeat. I love that. I know that you often talk about also potential as unachieved greatness. I love that quote.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to ask if you could expand on that. And then even more specifically, how do we bridge the gap between knowing we have the potential and actually stepping into our greatness? And I think you talked about that a little bit, but I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Wow. That's my favorite quote.
It's a good one. And I appreciate it.
And I would love to tell you that it was the original, but it's not actually. You know, I can't come on the Soul Shift and lie to y'all. It's really funny, actually. I was in marching band, and our director came up to us one day and said, "God, you guys are so great. Like, you're doing all these amazing things. But listen here, we could be better. And potential is only unachieved greatness." And when he said it, has stuck with me for the longest time, right? And I still love it because, you know, getting back to your question, it makes me think about the moments you said something about how do we recognize we even have that potential? Well, if you're questioning the fact that you have potential, I think coaching is a good idea for you. I think finding your way to be around and surround yourself with some good people and people who are going to lift you up versus bring you down, right? Because there's nobody in this world that doesn't have potential. I think that keeping expectations high for yourself is extremely important. However, grace is also important in that, okay? So we got to find the balance here between grace and having high expectations. And so taking that and thinking about what means potential is only unachieved greatness. One, everybody has potential. And if we're questioning your potential, that's a whole other conversation that we could have here. But everybody has potential. And once again, it just says, hey, learn more about you and learn what it means to take care of you. I mean, gosh, in this conversation, the three of you, I could tell how much work y'all put in this podcast. But in order to put work into this podcast, you got to do things for you. Make sure you're okay outside of creating this podcast. We can't pour out of an empty cup. And so what it means to take care of you so that you understand that you have potential and that you can work towards that greatness.
I love that. Very powerful message, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. And, we all have our things. You know what I mean? We all have our things. None of us are perfect. And what it means for all of us to learn more about ourselves and about those around us. Once again, like I was saying earlier, I mean, know that we all have our different trials and tribulations and struggles that we're all going through.
Compassionate yet radical acceptance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And once again, like what it means to take action on those things. And, I think about like what it means to take care of your health, right? And that's why like digestion and, all those things are super important, right, Mindy? Because you got to find ways to take care of you, like physically, mentally, all those different things. It's really important because all those things come together to make the beauty that is us.
Exactly.
So Tarik, something we talk about a lot, and you mentioned, digestion and how and the body working together as one. And we lean into a lot about our nervous system healing as well, and how trauma, whether it's sudden, like your experience with the blindness, or something that's like a slow drip, like building up chronic stress or chronic burnout, how all of that actually lives in our body. And I'm curious of how do you help people work with their nervous system as they're breaking through their deep-rooted stress patterns, or shall I say burnout patterns?
Yeah. It's an interesting question because when I first was getting into the mindset coaching space and recognizing that my niche was in burnout and lifestyle, before that, these amount of years ago now, it was going to be mainly in the health space and personal training. And I was going to work with someone to work on getting healthier. And I had sent them a program that was, one side was like exercises that you look at for their training and kind of organizing that. But the other piece of it was a mindset piece. And she asked me, Tarik, is it okay if we just focus on the training exercise piece? Because I know my mindset's not good and I just don't even want to deal with that. And I remember that so vividly because in that moment, I was like, oh, that's going to be my focus from now on. So I said to her, I don't think it's going to work. And she's a friend, but there was some other work that needed to happen there, right? And so not understanding that those two things are connected is a problem, right? I bring up that story to say, and I think about like my life and my struggles with blindness or even, some burnout in different workplaces. What I do for an individual's nervous system and what it means to take care of that. Unfortunately, I can't give you an answer. And the reason why that is because this isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. What I would tell one person is very different from what I would tell another. I think that we got to go to the foundation of it. If it's a trauma that happened in your life, if it's a trauma or different experiences, or if it's a lack of education. But more than anything, we have to get to the root of it and recognize the person. I'm just really big on getting to know my clients and having them connect with me, right? I have no problem sharing any stories about myself. Blindness is a story that gets people, pretty interested for sure. It's a bit unique, don't get me wrong. But what I needed might be different from what you need. But let's find a way to have perspective and get there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to give you a specific and strong answer because I'm a big believer that this isn't a one-size-fits-all problem. And if I were to give the one-size-fits-all situation, what I would tell you is like, let's learn more about you and figure out what exactly you need. And let's find a way to pour into your cup.
I actually love that answer because we believe here at SoulShift about bioindividuality. And that's exactly what you're speaking into. I mean, we're all very unique human beings and energetic. And there's always it depends, right? It depends on their past history and that type of thing. So makes sense.
I hate saying the it depends thing, right? I hate doing it. But I could be honest or I could sell you something that's not real. And then you go and take that thing that's not real and it doesn't work. And you're like, oh, Tarik's full of it. You know what I mean? So it's all about being truthful here.
No, that's one thing I love when I was listening to your different podcasts about how you just shoot it straight from the hip and you give really good down-to-earth examples. And that's one thing that I was attracted to. And so with wrapping up, leaning into the nervous system, I'm curious about, and not necessarily that particular part, but just in general, when you're working with people, are you leaning into other senses that, like, can you sense when people are burnout? Can you sense it in their tonality or the words they use? Or what do you pick up when people are telling their story so you know where to start?
That's a great question. And I like how you phrased it. It reminded me of another question that I often get. And because it's in my head, I just have to say it out loud. Just to describe my eyesight to y'all really quickly. So I have no central vision. My central vision is completely black. We're all here. I can't really see the screen. All my technology talks to me so that I can use it. And so I have blurry peripheral vision, so I can kind of see my hands moving on the outside here. Besides the point, nevertheless, oftentimes as a blind person, what happens is they say, oh, because you're blind, you have a heightened sense of hearing now. And I would hate to disappoint people, but the truth of the matter is I don't have a heightened sense of hearing. Unfortunately, I don't really have any superpowers, well, except for the ones that Mindy said earlier. But the fact is, I think that ultimately what you said while you were asking the question, I mean, it doesn't get much more clear than that. But the fact is, you have to listen to people. A lot of the problems with communication with friends, family, clients, all of our relationships is that we're not actually listening to each other. And a lot of times we have coaches or consultants or different people we find as mentors who mean well, but the problem is they want to give us an answer before they even heard us speak. And I'm just like, we have to listen, right? So you're absolutely right. I think it's about listening to what people are doing. And that's one of the keys of communication. I think the reason why people have so many issues with communication these days is because nobody's really listening to each other anymore. And so if we took the time just to listen to people, I'm like, oh, you're saying all this. What about that one thing that you just barely mentioned? Let's open that up a little bit and see if that's the core root. There's a philosophy there that you could ask somebody why for a particular thing, and you won't find the actual why until you ask why about 7, 8 times. I have a 9-month-old. I'm not quite there yet with him, but I give it about 6, 8 months. He's going to ask me why quite a few times. But gosh, I guess that's right. But honestly, it's about listening for sure, being clear and having perspective. Everybody's life is so different. And so having perspective, listening, and sure, I'm not listening to just what people say, but once again, how they say it. My undergraduate degree was in English, actually. And we learned a lot about when we're writing and like communicating things, that how we write things and how we do some of these certain things, it matters. The words we use, why we use the words we use, the choices that we make, how we say certain things. Our English, the language is more than just the words we say, for sure.
Yeah, it's so true. I was going to ask you for my next question about what you would want people to know about finding the gift in their struggle. And I think you've answered that. Helping people to understand their why is so much more than having them articulate what their goal is, what their end goal is. But it's more about helping them to understand the context within which their struggles evolved. And that's the real why.
Mindy, you couldn't be more right, because when I first started losing my vision, once again, I did not know what next looked like. You talk about finding those gifts and things like that. I would tell you that there were no gifts for Tarik, all right? None of those things existed. I had nothing, right? But I was lying to myself. And so what I would tell you about what you just said is that more important than anything is just knowing that it exists. You don't have to know what it is. Gosh, I think that my gift is a particular thing right now. It could be something far different from what I understand. And 5 years from now, I reckon, oh, all this was to teach me this. When I was about 8 years old, I did something I wasn't supposed to do. So as all kids do. And my mom said, okay, Tarik, you are not allowed to go outside and play basketball today. You have to stay inside the house. And I was upset. And she wanted me to do some work in my room, if read a book or whatever. And I did really enjoy reading, but for whatever reason, I didn't want to read that day. And so what I did was I wrote a story about me and like 4 or 5 other like celebrities and basketball players, basically. And I wrote a story about how we were on a basketball team together and how we were winners of the championship and I hit the game-winning shot and all these different things. And at that time, I thought that the dream, the goal, the vision was the NBA. But little did I know, I was like, oh, I looked back on that actually fairly recently, thinking about that moment. And I was like, maybe it wasn't telling me that I was supposed to be in the NBA. Maybe that was my way of saying that maybe there's something I could do with writing here. Maybe there's a communication thing happening here. Maybe there's a way to tell stories to other people that's happening here, right? So sometimes we think that life is telling us one thing, but as we grow, we learn more about who we are as people. It could be something a little bit different, but that just makes everything that we're doing so much more special.
So beautifully said.
I love that you looked at, even though you were in trouble as a youngster, that you looked under that. And as you reflected, you found that maybe, as an example, this communication and writing is your gift. So that's really beautiful.
And it's funny because when I majored in English in undergrad, my big thing was, I actually stumbled across it actually, because what ended up happening was I was like, I'll just major in English because I enjoy writing and I'll work at a high school so I can become the basketball coach there. Like I was really hanging on to that basketball thing. But it's pretty funny.
That's great. Tarik, as we wrap up, I want to make sure our listeners walk away with your 3 core takeaways. And we've talked into potential is the only unachieved greatness, are all of our favorites, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Number 2, that hardships shape us, but don't define us. And then the 3rd, that we should never let anyone tell us what you're worth. And that really hits home. I think that self-worth piece is something a lot of, just because we're human beings, we all struggle with from time to time. And so if someone could only remember one of these messages, say 6 months from now, which would you want it to be and why? Because they're all brilliant.
Wow, what a great question. Do you mind if I find a way to combine all 3?
Sure.
I think that's what I'm going to do here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go against the grain here a little bit. So I want to walk us all on a little bit of a journey here, okay? So a little bit of an exercise, if so. So for our listeners here, people watching, wherever you're consuming this, let's all join in on this for a second. So I want everybody to kind of put their hands up, all right? Like if you're going to give somebody like a 10, like 2 high fives, okay? So we have our hands. Are we all good?
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I want you all to slowly bring them together. And I'm going to try not to, destroy my microphone here. Bring them together and clasp your hands, and just bring them together, interlock them. Okay. Now, while we're here, I want to ask you all, how does that feel?
Connected.
Strong.
Yeah. It feels
Connected.
Yes.
Strong, comfortable. I love that. Okay, cool. Now, I want you all to let go. All right. Shake it out. Shake it out, everybody. All right. Now, I want you all to bring them back together. But before you bring them together, I want you to, as you're about to do it, put the other thumb on top. Whatever thumb you had, make sure the other thumb is on top as you're bringing it together. How does that feel?
Different.
Different. What else?
Awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward,
Yeah, a little awkward,
right?
uncomfortable.
A little awkward, uncomfortable. There's a whole story behind this, but you can let them go, everybody. I don't want you guys to feel uncomfortable forever. But what I would tell you is that recognizing that, when you were in this awkward, different, uncomfortable space, you weren't in any danger. And so what I would tell you is that it's okay. We actually welcome that. so that we could find ways to make it comfortable and be able to grow every single day.
So beautiful. So beautiful. You have offered us so much today, Tarik. You've just been a stellar guest. And I just need to ask if you have something special you'd like to offer our SoulShift community.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between a few different things. More than anything, I want you all to win. I want everybody here to win. So I'm going to share with you all today my free guide, How to Win Every Day, what it means to navigate goals and expectations. But it's a free guide, How to Win Every Day. I'll put it down below. And just because who doesn't want to win every day, right?
That's right.
And not that it's a competition with any other people or anything like that, because that's not necessarily what this is. However, I'm good for sports. I like a good competition, but that's not what this is. It's more about you, what it means to learn more about you. And I'll share my free guide with you on how to win every day, navigating goals and expectations. So yeah, we'll drop that below wherever you're receiving this. And I would love to have more conversations with you all.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful. We will make sure that all of your links, all of your contact information are in our show notes. And just quickly tell people where they can connect with you.
First of all, I just have to say the energy that you all create here in this space is such a welcoming and beautiful one. I'm excited to listen to all of your episodes. I can listen to your voices every day. Hopefully my voice wasn't too of a annoyance for the listeners here, but you all just bring such a beautiful energy. So I just want to thank you all for creating the space. So wearevisionofhope.com, or send me an email at wearevisionofhope@gmail.com. We Are Vision of Hope. It's not just about it's about we. We Are Vision of Hope. So We Are Vision of Hope on Instagram, wearevisionofhope.com. Yeah, let's have a conversation. I would love to get to know everybody.
Tarik, thank you so much. I felt your energy the first time we met, and I'm just so happy that we were able to create this platform and introduce you to our community. Again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tarik.
Thank you all for the space. This was great.
Thank you so much for bringing your energy to us today. It is very powerful. And I want to thank you for your vulnerability and for your wisdom and for reminding all of us that our greatest challenges are often our greatest gifts. And I really appreciate that. And to our SoulShift family who's listening, remember that our potential is more than an idea. It's unachieved greatness waiting for action. And our hardships are shaping us into more resilient, more compassionate, and more powerful than we realize. And we learned a lot today from Tarik. I'm really grateful for that. And most importantly, we learned we're never going to let anyone else determine our worth. So thank you, Tarik. We look forward to joining you in the we and the group that you have. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the sacred time today.
We hope something in this conversation touched your heart
And offered nourishment for your soul's journey.
Remember, transformation is most effortless when it happens one tender shift at a time.
Until next week, we invite you to carry one insight from today into your life.
Not as a task.
Think of it as a superpower to yourself.
If something resonated, we'd love to hear from you. If you're joining us on YouTube, feel free to leave us a comment below.
Your words ripple outward, offering connection and comfort to others walking this path beside you.
If SoulShift feels like home, please subscribe and consider leaving us a review.
Your support will help us reach more hearts that need to hear they're not alone.
We're holding you in love, so know you're not alone. Your journey matters.
May your heart be filled.
And may your path be filled with grace.